What up, Super Fun Force? Captain Gamester, and these are my picks for April 7th, my weekly comic haul. I just got a few books here I'll quickly talk about. So first up, we got Amazing Spider-Man #1. This is the foil web cover by John Romita. As you guys can see, that extra shininess in the webs. I think this is the best variant. This is great looking. The stock cover I didn't pick up, or cover A. But that one I think is also super worth it because it's a wraparound cover. And finally, the first appearance cover of Hellgate, which I already, actually, you know what? I just remembered. Let me pull that up as well. I grabbed this copy right here. Wabam! And I think it's cool just because, you know, this toy looks like a 90s supervillain. This is a style that I like. Hopefully he has a prominent role, interesting background, his character gets popular. If so, this first issue will have additional value because it is the first appearance of Hellgate. Now, my review for the book is I think it's okay. The artwork is pretty dynamic. This new artist, I think, works for it. And we also have a second story in here illustrated by the same cover artist here about Norman Osborn. And to me, I think just someone who's totally brand new to comics and is just going to read this for, let's say, the MCU or modern Spider-Man, or maybe you just, you know, are a longtime Spider-Man fan and you're going to read this no matter what, then obviously you're going to collect this. But for me, nothing's going to ever replace the Spider-Man canon that led up to his beginning, up until the early 2000s, you know, when he was still married to MJ. I'm sure like a lot of fans are, you probably hear it all the time. For me, once MJ and him, you know, divorced and everything and split up or whatever, Spider-Man was forever ruined. You know, nothing can save it in my eyes. I'm not really a fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man either. I think the Ultimate Universe is too dark. It's too grim. I like how DC's Absolute Universe is handling the way that they present the world is much more balanced and modern. But I'm not a fan of Ultimates. But that's a different subject. But I highly recommend Spider-Boy. I think Spider-Boy is the best Spider book you can read right now. Going forward, I'm still going to take a look at this book month to month and just see if it's an issue just worth kind of picking up for artwork. Or maybe it's just like it's a fun read, like a what if canon in my mind. Like all the modern books, like Spider-Man and X-Men, they're more like what if books to me. I'm always going to be a devoted, you know, fan of the original canon that I believe ended in the early 2000s for pretty much every single Marvel book. So anyways, I still recommend you pick up this book. Like I said, if you like Spider-Man, if you like the artwork, and you can get past the fact that it's no longer, you know, what I consider true Spider-Man canon. Okay, next up we got Phoenix #10. It's kind of a sleeper book. Don't know how long this book's gonna last. I've only read the first 6 issues. I got the Foreshadow variant because I'm not hugely invested in this series. I do like the Phoenix character, but again, based off of the original Claremont and Uncanny X-Men of the 70s and the 80s, this modern Phoenix to me is okay. I still feel like there's too much of a pushed agenda behind it. Trying to making her like this all-powerful cosmic being. Like, you know, it seems like every other female character in the Marvel Universe now is being touted as like the most powerful character in the universe. Like Phoenix, then you have like Storm, and you have Captain Marvel. It's like, ugh, like they're gonna be powerful, that's fine, but it just feels so forced, you know? But I still gave this book the chance because, again, I really, you know, like the concept of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Thankfully, they haven't permanently broken up or been ruined. I just like the cosmic space aspect of this alongside the X-Men. You know, there's a little bit of some references to people like Cyclops. Obviously, they kept in touch a little bit in the first couple of issues. And then, you know, even like Corsair, you know, Cyclops' dad, you know, makes a brief appearance here. And you get to see, you know, again, cosmic villains and kind of get that epic scope that I also like. Again, I really like Cosmic Spider-Man from the 90s. So again, just picking this book up to finish it off because #10 is the end of the arc. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to move forward with this book. Let's see what issue 11 has to offer once I finish reading up to #10. And I'll do a video and a review and follow up on that. And then we'll see if this series, you know, keeps going. Then we also have Doctor Strange of Asgard. Now, this one I think is another sleeper series. The first issue left off on a cliffhanger, like a murder mystery. I just like seeing Doctor Strange in comic books again. I had a renewed interest in him because of Marvel Rivals, for sure. I do like magic. I like fantasy. And I've always seen this book on the stands, like back in 2016, 2017. And I was like, oh, cool. It always looked like it has that kind of fantasy RPG aspect. But for some reason, I always shied away from it. I wasn't also buying comics back then. I was only trying to pick and choose like a few titles that were like old school superhero, you know, kind of inspired. and maybe like an X-Men book, here and there. But I'm gonna probably try to go back and start catching up on Doctor Strange all the way back into the 80s and see what other modern books or runs that are worth reading of his. But as far as I like this title, I like how he's not the Sorcerer Supreme. It's tied into One World Under Doom. Loki's in this one, so I don't know how many issue this is. I believe it's a miniseries, but I'm curious about how the ongoing Doctor Strange comic will be, especially once this is over and One World Under Doom at the end of the year. Green Lantern Corps. So, growing up, I really liked Green Lantern, but I didn't get too absorbed in the lore. I was reading a lot of Marvel growing up, and, Green Lantern books were hard to get. And now I think there's just way too much lore. Like, I'm not even versed on all the different colors, the Sorrow Lanterns. You got Red Rage, you still got the Yellow Fear, you have all that stuff. So I know probably a lot of people like the main Green Lantern series, but I don't know if I really want to get invested in any of the main Green Lanterns. The only one I knew growing up was Hal Jordan. I didn't really know much about Kyle Rayner or whatever. Guy Gardner was always like just a funny side character. But what I like about this book is it just gives you the sampling. You have Kilowog over here. You've had John Stewart. You've seen Guy Gardner. So like all the Green Lanterns are in here, and I feel like you get a good sample of, again, another kind of cosmic sci-fi, like world and development, right, outside of the DC, or within and without the DC universe. So I'm sure if you're just a Green Lantern fan, you're keeping up with this, because I'm also pretty sure it ties into the main book, and obviously the entire lore of Green Lanterns. But if you're someone who's just been curious about Green Lantern and you don't want to dive too deep into it, or maybe you just might kind of start to see what it's like and over time slowly start to backtrack, this is a great place to just start with, to just see the Green Lanterns, get an idea of their powers and the different ones that are out there. And again, I hope they make a male Asian heterosexual Green Lantern one day, and that'll be really cool. All right, Jedi Knights number 2. I'm a big fan of the original Star Wars. Even from the episode 4, 5, 6. Basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After that, the movies are worthless to me. I do like some of the TV series. I did like Boba Fett. I really liked Mandalorian. I did have some, a little bit of, I think, controversy the way it ended, or the way the last season was pretty quickly done, I feel like. I also like Andor. So I still do dabble in a little bit of the modern Star Wars. But this one, I wanted to check it out because, it has Yoda in it. It has Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. It has the Jedi Knights from around, I think, the Clone Wars era. So I will be reading this soon. I believe issue 3 is going to have I think all full page splashes. So if there's a lot of cool, Jedi battles and some nice character building and stuff like that into the original lore, and I hear that George Lucas is back on board, so I got to figure out how much input he has. It could be a book I support. They also have a Star Wars number 1 coming out. Actually, I think it's on the back. Whoa, spoiler. Yeah, so I might check this out too, because these are my favorite characters. Obviously, Luke. You have Leia, Han Solo. So we'll see how this one works as well. But I never really collect or read Star Wars comics ever, so we'll see how these two go. As you saw, next up, Batman. This is a great issue because the first ones that I've been reading have been phenomenal. I kind of dismissed Absolute Batman early on. I kind of regret doing so. But fortunately, as I started reading the Superman book and got into that story, I gave this a try. And I quickly went back and got everything, from the first issue. I got the variants that I wanted. And this is the one where they introduce Mr. Freeze. So it'll be cool to see how that's going. And again, I feel like, for me, the Copper Age and the Bronze Age Batman is the best Batman. After the Dark Knight, that was a cool concept that set the groundwork for this. But I feel like they've overdone Batman since then. I'm not really a fan of any of the modern Batman titles. Even the newly released Hush 2, I didn't like that. In the early 2000s, I gave up on Batman because it became this, I think, again, it was too dark, still too brooding. You have all the titles out now that makes it they always focus on the 50s, 60s mobster stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to see that old school era of Batman as much as I would rather see him celebrated the way that he was, as kind of a balance between, here's a hot take, the kind of the goofiness of the Adam West Batman, but also just the original Batman, And like I said, the Bronze and the Copper Age Batman, like when he was with Jason Todd, all the way up to when he was with the Outsiders, that is the quintessential and perfectly balanced Batman for me. This, though, I accept because it's a brand new modern Batman, so this one can definitely be more serious. It can be a little bit more, you know, tied into criminal organizations and stuff like that. So I accept this. And this Batman, too, he doesn't have that, like, obsessive, brooding, like, almost now pitiful quality that the current Bruce Wayne has. That's been carried over from, I think, you know, The Dark Knight and just how he's been portrayed in comics, at least in my eyes. So I accept this as a modern Batman, so I'm excited to take on this title, and I'll be continuing to collect and read the old school Batman as my favorite. And then of course I got this cover. I think this cover is gorgeous as well, and I like all the nifty little things they did. They really modernized him as well with like the gadgets and how he he's younger, right? He's a younger adult, so he has more room to grow. I like the way that his parents were, like his father was much more, I guess the relationship with him and his father and the way that he lost his father was more developed, and the way he was attached to bats. So that's another reason why it's like it took the best of what kind of Dark Knight did, but it made it even better, and it did it differently, and also, you know, originally, even though it is a derivative, it's still, I think, the best modern Batman. Like there should never be another version of this, obviously. Oh yeah, lastly, almost forgot, I am going to pull out one more book for you guys. I did buy, and because I think this is totally worth, oh, I got some back issues down there. Yep, here we are. I did grab Storm, excuse me, number 7. I got both variant editions. I didn't really like the cover on the original one, and I think they only had 1 or 2 left of the original one, and they were both like creased. But this is my favorite cover. I like this one as well. This has a beautiful artwork inside. I'm not too interested in Storm's story, but like I always look at this book on the wall and I like the artwork. What sold me on this one, the first appearance of the Silver Suit Surfer, or Silver Surfer Suit, or Suit Silver Surfer. I don't remember, but it was in the first page where you see him with a new weapon, and when you flip over the page, he introduces himself. So I'm a Silver Surfer fan. I like the Silver Surfer era in the 80s and the 90s, and I liked the 2016-17 series by Dan Slott as well. So I was just excited to see another, you know, first appearance of a Silver Surfer in here. So grab that if you're a Silver Surfer fan. All right, guys. Thanks so much. That's my comic pickups and reviews for the week. Let me know what yours are in the comments below. Peace.